Welcome to the Once Blind podcast. Your host, Carlos.
What's going on? You guys already know. Once Blind podcast. I am me and I. I know I've been gone for a while. I apologize. But to get right into it, today on social media, I posted a question. Christian hip-hop, Christian rap, can it be considered Christian? Can we call that worship? Can we worship in that form of, or the art of hip-hop, rap, so on? I mean, we can even talk about rock and heavy metal and screamo music and all that, because for some particular reason, you have those that believe hymns only, and then you have those that believe hymns and contemporary only. Nothing else could be worship. Nothing else is godly. And I'm dumbfounded to see certain people post their art like on social media, and they have lyrical talent and the beats are decent, or some of them are actually really good, and they'll show their art, and it's beautiful in the sense of how you see their love for God. Yet people berate it. People talk down about it. And then some people will, say, hey, that was great. Hey, that was fire. Hey, I'm so happy that I got to experience this music, this type of worship, as they would call it, or this type of praise. Wow. Like the two spectrums. It just kind of throws me back. And it's like, where do I start with this? Right. So for those that don't know me, I am very strict when it comes to Sunday worship. And the reason I say Sunday worship, it's because the purpose of church is for us as a group to go before God, to learn, right, whether through the teaching and so on and so forth, for us to be equipped or equip ourselves in a sense to go out and handle the Great Commission, right? The church isn't for hanging out. It's not, okay? That's not what the church is supposed to be doing on a Sunday. It's supposed to be something where we gather together, right, as a group. We congregate in the sense of, beforehand, hey, we're hanging out. We're saying hi to friends that we probably didn't see through the week, through the busyness of our weeks, especially for those that live in America, working 8 to 10 hours, sometimes 12 hours, families, this, that. We don't have time to talk to our friends and our brethren. So we only do that on a Sunday. So cool, we get there, we say hi. But now church is starting. And I'm not talking about the body, I'm talking about the service. So service starts. And biblically, the point of people gathering on Sunday is to be equipped to go out and handle the Great Commission, right? That's what the Bible teaches. It's not about going to hear a great story. It's not about going so that you can see your friends. It's not even about singing songs. It's to go and be equipped. But here's the thing. I do get the concept of some people call it corporate worship or just people together worshiping God. But see, I believe that Sunday worship is supposed to take us straight to the throne room. It's all about God, not my feelings, not what God makes me feel, nothing like that. It's for us to be in the throne room, right? And just spiritually being there and being in awe of God and doing it in form of song, which is also to prepare our hearts and minds that we're going to go before God. And the message that follows is God's message to us in equipping us to go out and do it. I know that church has become this evangelical thing where we bring people to church so that hopefully they hear a great sermon and then they do, whatever it is to maybe make those converts. That's not the point or the purpose of the church. Now, I know why the church has started doing that in the last 100 years, 200 years. It's because people aren't going out to do the Great Commission. But I mean, we're not supposed to change how the Bible did things then just because of the times. And we're going to talk a lot more about how the church has changed and the roles in churches and so on and so forth have changed according to time. That's not what we're here for. But the worship has always been to point towards God, right? No matter how you look at it. Back in the day, they would stick to the hymns. That's fine and dandy. That's fine and dandy. Contemporary came into play. Yeah, okay. You put a little bit better beat to it or something, which, again, music is very powerful. It can be used for good, but it can also be used for evil. We already know that. Just look at Hollywood and the mainstream. That's all I can say. Either way, like I was saying in the beginning of this rant, I am very strict when it comes to worship. I don't want a rock concert. I don't want to be entertained. I don't want all the light shows and the solos and look at the drummer, he's banging away, and then we like credit that to the Holy Spirit. I don't want that. Example, my own church that I came up in, right? Because I didn't grow up in the church, but as a beginning Christian, I'm at this church, and worship for a while was very decent, man. I really felt like, it wasn't the best singers, it wasn't the best music per se, but I was being led to worship God, not to worship music, not to worship feelings, to worship God. And then little by little, it started turning into lights and smoke and this and that and all this extra stuff. A bunch of solos. And, they would always say, oh, well, the solo's in the song. Well, then maybe take it out. And I would literally walk out of churches in the middle of worship because I didn't feel that I was being led to worship. I wasn't worshiping. I was paying attention to the drummer, the guitarist, this and that. My goodness. My goodness. Remember this guy? Bandana. Jean outfit with the chains and everything. He really wanted to look the part of a rock and roll star. It's like, what? What is this? Like, you're wearing flashy, glittery clothes. For what reason? What's the bandana for? What's the jumping up and down with the guitar for? Like, what's all this extra stuff for? Now I'm not focused on God, I am focused on you, and I would walk out. And this to say, it's not that, I'm not strict in like the cults, where some cults will do the hymns, but they'll do like spoken word, no instruments whatsoever. They won't even sing it out because, they attribute music to Satan, and it's all about Satan. So no music whatsoever. I'm not that guy. And the reason I'm not that guy is because look at the Psalms. Look at the Psalms. Before you can even read a psalm, it'll tell you who the author was, the instrument that was used, if an instrument was used, and so on and so forth. So I don't have a problem, because I believe God doesn't have a problem. If not, it wouldn't be in the Bible, with instruments or musical expressions. Okay? We'll write a new psalm, so on and so forth. There's so much in the Psalms and throughout the Bible that speaks about worshiping God in song. So I'm not against music. I'm not. But there's a time and a place for different types of things. Praise and worship. If that's what we're doing on a Sunday, then let's praise God, not praise what he can do for me or what he might do for me or me. Same thing with worship. I don't want to worship what God has done for me. I want to worship the God regardless of what he's done for me. And that's what I believe worship is. But we're not talking about just worship here. To go back to the main topic. Can music outside of psalms or hymns, organ, contemporary, can anything outside of that be considered Christian, can be considered hip hop. I'm sorry, can be considered. I used to think nothing Christian could be hip hop, but vice versa. Hip hop, can it be considered Christian? And I don't understand because so years and years ago, before Christian hip hop was any good, you had rock and roll, you had screamo, you had bands that were like Skillet, where they were really hammering down on the on the drums, and it was loud and it was wow. People would consider that, oh, that's devil music. That's not hymns. That's not this. That's not that. Especially if you're like in a legalistic church, nothing outside of that. So first they were attacking artists who did rock for it not being Christian, regardless that it was all about God. It was all about his word. It's all about just who God is. Now, here's the thing. Some of them were stories. Some of them were scriptures. Some of them were the same song they were singing on a Sunday, only with a rock beat, heavy metal, and so on and so forth. I'm sure if you go down south, they'll have like folklore and this and that and stuff. Country music, right? We've heard country artists that do worship music and do Christian music. But the naysayers only lasted for so long. Now, hip hop, rap, it's been years now that it's out. And it's still going where people will sit there and say that it's from the devil. Look where it comes from. I'll put it to you like this. I remember coming to Christ. There was like maybe one or two people that I would consider to be good rap or good Christian hip hop. Right? Shout out to Cross Movement. There really wasn't much. So I remember when, again, I didn't know anything about the scene. Listen, I grew up 80s, 90s. So when I think of hip hop, I think of Biggie Smalls. I think of Wu-Tang, especially Wu-Tang, 36 Chambers. Anyways, I think of Tupac, Naughty by Nature. I think of, the Peanuts for sure, Big Pun. You guys have already heard me say, I don't know why Big Pun's not on everyone's top 5, but it is what it is. Either way, Fat Joe, all these guys, that I grew up with. I know I'm missing a bunch of people. Okay, going into 2000s, Eminem, Dre made his comeback. Some people that were irrelevant became relevant again. It was what I grew up in. It's the culture, right? It just is what it is. So coming to Christ and changing my outlook in life, I was trying to get out of the hip hop scene, and little by little, because though I liked worship music, I couldn't jam to it all day, every day, because there was only a couple good songs that I felt were worship. But when I would hear stuff outside of that, and I would hear stuff like from Matthew West, and I would think of, Casting Crowns, guys that don't only do worship music, but they do music about God and music that glorifies God, right? And yeah, there's a bunch of bands, and I'm not going to sit here and name them all out. I'm sure you guys can name a couple. In fact, hey, why don't you tell me who your favorite band artist is in the comments? But, I'm hearing those type of bands, right? And I was like, okay, I could see why this isn't a Sunday worship. Like Matthew West has that one song where I don't want to go through the motions. I could see why that's not on a Sunday, especially because it'll convict a bunch of, churchgoers. But yeah, I felt the same way. I don't want to go through the motions. And when I would sing this, blasting it in my car, because that's how we listen to music loud, I can bump to it, but it wasn't hip hop. It wasn't hitting home for me. It wasn't the classics or anything. It just wasn't. So a friend of mine, you guys have seen him on here, DJ One Way, he hooked me up with some other Christian artists, because by the time he came into the scene and me and him reconnected, you had people like A lot of the people from 116, Trip Lee I like, Flame. Is Flame even a part of 116? I don't even know. But Flame had joyful music. That beat was sick. I would blast that, speakers bouncing, bass going. I'd be parked at a light and blasting it. I didn't care. It said Jesus music like 100 times. And I would just be banging my head, and people would be looking at me with, huh? Either way, after he introduced me back to a lot of this hip hop, and it was actually good because, again, when I first came to Christ and I looked for hip hop, it was like Toby Mac, and that's neither for me. That's not hip hop. That's not rap. He's got lyrical talent, but that to me is like KTU music. I didn't grow up with KT music unless my dad was around. I'd listen to Hot 97, 105. There's a radio station that comes out of Philly that plays all the old school stuff. So at that time, they were playing like Curtis Blow and stuff like that. That's what I grew up with. The beat, the lyrical talent. It was spoken word to a beat. And I wanted that part of my culture to be infused or taken over by Christ. Whether through music, whether through the way I was living, because I didn't change that aspect of my culture. I can't change that. God changes that. But I still had a thirst for it. And again, looking for it. It was and I used to call it nursery rhyme garbage, right? That's all it was. It's nursery rhyme. I rhymed Christ with like 10 words. Yay, someone clap for me. It was, oh, goodness gracious. It was torture. So I completely took hip hop out of my life. And, it was something that was missing. Yeah, I love just the art. A lot of bands, it's a repetition. You got people like Hillsong, and we're going to get into a little bit of that in a second, but Hillsong, who are very famous, Jesus Culture and all that. But you can't really headbang to that. You can't feel the music or the beat the same way you used to. Only because, not because the beat is evil, not because of the sound effects or all that was evil. It's because the lyrics aren't who I am anymore. You see, the reason from our culture we loved hip hop, it's because it was us. It was what we were living. It was the things that were going on. Or for some people, it's the things they would aspire to. I think that's why in the 90s when hip hop took a turn for, that gangster rap or so on and so forth, I know the government was paying for it, but either way, when they took that turn, even then I was like, I can't rock with this anymore. Because it's not about here's my life. It was more about I want to become this. So even then, the beginning of hip hop for me was going down. But I'm not an artist. I can't sing. I can't sit here and write bars to satisfy that need that I had. So again, DJ One Way brings hip hop. I'm like, wow, this is amazing. And he, as a DJ, you can imagine how many gigabytes of music he got me. And I know some people are going to be upset. I didn't pay for any of it. No. Either way, tons of hip hop stuff that I was like, ooh, I think it's Stephen the Levite, Timothy Brindle. Those guys were putting doctrine on beats. I forgot who was it that did it. Sin, God versus Sin or something like that. It was like a battle rap. I mean, he did it himself, but it was like a battle rap. And again, coming from the culture, I was like, whoa, this is clever. This is good. Oh, did you hear that bar? Did you see this? Like the talent and just the word and sound doctrine, not just words that, because I know some people will say, blah, blah, I'm selling drugs in the street and Jesus loves me. No, that's not what I'm talking about, okay? This isn't, the hip hop awards and I just sung booty, 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 booty bounce and now I'm going to thank God because booty, booty bounce came. That's not what I'm talking about. Just because you say God, just because you say Jesus somewhere in your songs doesn't make it Christian hip hop. Because if that is the case, one of the biggest devil worshipers, Jay-Z, would be a Christian because there are certain songs where he mentions God. Sorry, no. The evidence is out, buddy. But again, so that's not what we're talking about, but sound doctrine, sound worship. Flame has the song I Surrender. You know how many times I have to remind myself on a daily basis to surrender, to yield to God, okay, to allow Him to take over? That's a great reminder. And it's got a awesome beat. So I can blast it on the radio and remind myself all the way to work. I wake myself up and I get a good time with the Lord because as that song is going on and it prepares my heart and mind, I can then now pray, yo, God, this is how I feel. This is exactly what it is. Like I want to surrender. I want to give in. But you see, the way music is used even in Psalms to worship God, to tell a story, to say what's going on. That's what music was doing for me. It's always done that for me. But now instead of before Christ where I would use it to fuel my anger, I'm using it to actually kill the flesh, to die to self, to think of something above me and how to do so. And then also I get to learn. It's incredible what music does. So how dare we sit back and say, you can't say hip hop and Christian in the same sentence? How dare you? You cannot tell me that a lot of these artists are not glorifying God. I don't see how you see God not getting glory. I don't see how you don't see worship. Again, the same way these contemporary artists are making songs about God that aren't necessarily meant for Sunday worship to be Christian music. Yet, you can't do that with hip hop. And here's the thing, not every Christian artist is a Christian rapper or a Christian hip hop artist. Okay, they don't fall into that genre just because their music is clean. Because I know NF, he's claimed to be Christian. I'm not saying he is or isn't. He's made the claim, but his music isn't for the Christian only. It's clean music. It's just clean, but it's honest, and I like it. I think the kid's got, well, he's not a kid. I think he's my age, maybe a little younger. Either way, he's got great talent, and most of the songs that I relate to that he puts out are his depression or his mom or this or that, stuff that people in the real world can relate to. And does he mention God? Yes, here and there, but it's not a song of doctrine. It's not a song of pointing you to Jesus, to sing to Jesus. It's none of that. It's just clean music that a Christian can listen to without feeling like, oh, I got to lower that. I got to this. I got to beep out that. I got to this. It's music helping you get out of certain dark places that the mind can go to, right? Therapy session. But then you got his boys, or at least I think they're still boys, but you have the Social Club Misfits, where that music is no denying the Christian influence in all that music. Now, but we sit back and we want to say it's not. We sit back and we want to judge these artists that are coming out today. I'm telling you, the talent bar has gone up so much with Christian artists doing hip hop. And I know, listen, and we're not going to dwell on this too much. And I know there are certain Christian artists who are making Christian music, but they don't want to be considered that. That's on them. That's between them and God. Okay, I get the concept of wanting to be an artist or your art to be seen, regardless whether you're Christian or not, right? I think they said the whole thing about, is a plumber not a plumber if he's a Christian? Yeah, whatever. I don't care. Okay. You want to make the distinction that's between you and God. But, hey, listen, NF was thrown into Christian genre because it was clean. There was plenty other musicians, whether rock or whoever, that were thrown into, right, Christian label because it was clean. And there were some that, hey, they were slick enough to hide the message in their songs that there weren't. They weren't considered Christian genre. Actually, I remember a Spanish artist. God, what was her name? It was a female. I know my wife. No, Jackie Velasquez or something. She came up Christian. All her music was Christian. Then she decided to, try the secular world out. So she said that all her songs were about love for some guy and not God. Like, why would people think Jesus or God? So you have those that have turned away in their music. You have Christian hip hop artists that start off Christian, and then all of a sudden they get some clout and they stop doing Christian music. What was goodness gracious, she went far. What is it, Perry, whatever her name is? It was all Christian music. When she got some clout, she used that clout to try the secular music, and all that came out. So you have those that have gone bad from it. But not all rap and hip hop is bad. No, it's not. Especially when they're trying to build people up to point to God, build people up and strengthen them in this walk. And here's the thing, and I think this is one of the biggest problems, because I'm not talking to the world. I'm not talking to people who are into secular music. I'm not. If you're on here, God bless you, thanks for checking out the channel. But talking to Christians, you need to be careful. And I ask you the question, for you to ask yourself, what's your problem with hip hop and rap as a Christian music? Because let me tell you something. I'll make my point with this story. I remember trying to throw an outreach in a church and being told that some of the artists that I was trying to bring in that do Christian hip hop and rap were not the church's demographic. And I think I've talked about this before on another episode. And my thought was, well, first off, what's demographic? So once I understood what was being said, since when? Oh, I get it. Demographic, the culture that is attracted to something, right? Normally people attribute that to race and so on and so forth. So basically, they didn't want rap culture or people who like rap at the church because they didn't feel that they could minister to them, which I forgot. Jesus can't minister to Jesus can minister to everybody. It's very interesting. So yeah, I was highly offended. I lost respect for that pastor and that staff. And it took a little bit of praying and here and there. And though I'm not really over it, I moved past while I was still there. I stayed in ministry for a couple years afterwards. But it still hit me, even until today, to hear that my demographic wasn't the people that they were trying to reach. And it's like, well, I'm here. I'm ministering here. But you don't like my demographic. So in saying that, if your problem is with Christian hip hop and Christian rap, is your problem with the culture? Is your problem that hip hop and rap is predominantly Black and Hispanic, or Puerto Rican, Dominican, Hispanic? Is that your problem? Is this your way of expressing true racism towards a genre, towards a people that genre speaks to? You really need to check this, because how dare you call yourself a Christian, yet you're going to take out a whole genre, a whole culture or cultural music or whatever, this whole avenue, because it doesn't fit what you think Christianity should look like. You should question that. You really should. Because I have no other explanation for it. Music is literally that music. And though, yes, in the secular world, okay, you have non-Christian music that glorifies sin, glorifies Satan himself, glorifies, worships the things of Satan. Yeah, but you have that in all music. You have that in rock, yet you've accepted rock. You have that in heavy metal, yet you've accepted heavy metal. You have that in what's considered contemporary. You have that there too. The same style that hymns was spoken of. Yeah, the only thing is, hymns are biblical wording, yada yada yada, but the style of that music, the instruments used for that music, you have secular mindsets in that too. Oh, but rap is predominantly about sex, drugs, and so on. So are all the other genres of music. Look at country music. Look at R&B. So what? That's the only type that we don't like. You see, so you might not necessarily think you're being racist towards this culture, but you are. And I hate using that word, especially today, because you're racist. And we use it wrong. We're prejudiced. We use it wrong. We use it to manipulate people, right? To put them in fear, kind of like, they use the word homophobe and stuff like that. It's to shock you and scare you so that you can't come back because you don't want to be called that. So that's not what I'm trying to do here. But you got to understand that when you're attacking people, whether on social media, in person, or whatever, over this genre of music, well, why? For years, it's been considered black music, but so is jazz. So are so many other musics. Yet the only one that people have problems with is hip hop. See, that doesn't make me racist or prejudiced towards black people. It's not what I'm talking about. It's the culture. See, because black people and Hispanic people, we come in all different shapes, sizes, and I mean, mostly the color's the same, but all different types of life. You have those that are, what they would call hood, gangster, so on and so forth, that come from the hood, right? You have those that have been from the suburbs. You have those that have been out from the country. You have people from their homeland, whether African, whether Puerto Rican, whether South American, all different types. And if you put them all in the room, you can tell, man, there's a difference. Though they're all the same in the sense of color or roots, it's still different cultures. The African culture isn't the same as the American black culture. The culture in Puerto Rico is not the same as the culture in New York. Okay, in fact, I wouldn't call them Puerto Rican. I know. New York Rican, no, it's not. Either way, it's not the same culture. Dominicans from DR that are here now, not the same culture. Southern Americans to here, it's not the same culture. So your prejudice is towards the person from the hood, whether Hispanic or black or white. There are some white people that are from the hood, just in case you didn't know that, Christians. But that's what you don't like. It's that culture. Which, if you were to make the statement to say that those people, right, us people, because that's where I came from, that we needed Jesus the most, I would agree 100% with you. I would agree so much with you. A place where there's a church in every corner, yet there's so much ungodliness going on because the churches do not care to minister to the people. I would agree with you. I wouldn't see anything prejudiced about that. But when you're shutting down on that culture music or that culture's music in Christian circles, and you're saying that they don't belong together, I have a very big problem with that. Just like I have a problem when you say rock's not Christian music or it can't be Christian. So you have, again, this isn't about legalism, and this isn't also about being free. Again, I said it before and I'll say it again. There are lots of people who claim to be Christian, and you can tell by their lyrics that it has nothing to do with Christ. Just because they throw the word in there once or twice does not make it. So, in one of the comments, someone said, it depends who the artist is, right? If, when Kanye first came out, he came out with that Jesus Walks. I was actually very happy with that song. I would worship to that song. But was he Christian then? I don't know. I mean, by certain things and certain things going on, I wouldn't say yes or no. But I wouldn't put him under the Christian label. That was a slamming song. And it light a fire within me. Jesus walks. Like, yeah, like, all right, this is it. This is cool. But him as an artist, so when you're talking about, oh, well, it depends the artist. I'll even take it out of hip hop, right? Let's go to contemporary. Hillsong. How many Hillsong songs are out there that are amazing worship songs? Songs that they sing in the churches. And in fact, it's so funny because you'll literally watch churches argue and fight over, well, we can't put Hillsong on in our worship sessions because it's Hillsong and yada, 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 yada. And for me, it's like, yeah, do whatever you want. I mean, have your arguments. But I will say this. Though I don't agree with Hillsong in anything they do outside of worship, and not all their worship songs. Some of them are a little bit kind of scary. But there are some songs in there, man, that help me get through some tough times spiritually. Jesus culture. Jesus culture scares me. But there are certain songs that, a case in point, what is it? Break Every Chain, right? Man, that's an awesome song when you feel like you're imprisoned by the things of life. When you're chained down to this world and it's just dragging you down, and Jesus breaks chains. Like, yeah. But there's a part in the song that I always have to skip because the artist starts, ha, 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 ha. And I'm like, whoa, what is this Satan worshiping laughter? Whoa, this is scary. But I skipped that whole portion. In fact, if I could edit it out from any version that I have, I would still listen to the song. But I'd have to cut out that whole portion. So again, that's not even hip hop. That's contemporary. So depending the artist, I would say yes, in a sense. I won't discredit the writing of the worship song. I won't, hey, listen, God sometimes used evil people to do good works. Look at Rahab, who lied, right? Rahab, I think her name is. I can't remember right now. But she was lying to protect those people. She was a harlot. He used her to protect those people. And then from her lineage is the Messiah. Look at that. So it's not that God can't use the evil things to glorify himself. It's not where I'm going with this. This is why I can still listen to some Hillsong, regardless that I disagree with their church, with them, with a lot of the things that they're doing. I see them being way off topic on a lot of things. But I'm not going to discredit the bad. It's kind of like I've showed you some of the books that I have here. Some of these are very old, and some of these pastors have fallen off at the end. But you can't discredit everything good that they've done up to that point. Case in point, Ravi Zachariah, I've talked about it before, right? What came out about him when he had passed does not discredit the work that he put through. Now, whether he's with God or not, that's between him and God. I'm not going to say he's saved. We're not saved. But I know that there's a lot of his books that help me be able to minister to other people, taught me about other religions and how to deal with them in apologetics. I'm not going to throw those books out. They're still in here. But I can't say for sure he's saved or not saved. According to the secret life that he's living, I think he shot himself in the foot. But I don't know. Same thing with artists. So when it comes to, and I think it was Kevin who put that in. You guys seen Pastor Kevin here before. Um, First is the artist, right? You got to see where the artist is, and I can agree with that point to a certain point, right? If it's Jay-Z and all of a sudden he comes out with a Christian album, I'm gonna be very shocked. If Eminem decided to come out with a Christian album, I'm gonna be pretty shocked. I'm gonna really have to look into some things and just be like, all right. But hey, if the doctrine's right, maybe there was a change in their life. Maybe there wasn't. So we need to be careful when we say depending the artist and depending what it is, because we don't know what God is doing. We just don't know. What is the guy's name? KJ52, I think it is. The dude's got lyrical talent, but you also see he's ministering to a lot of people. So there's an artist, right, that shows he's walking the walk and he's doing really good. And then he hasn't really put out anything lately, but the music that he has is also doctrine, it's sound. It puts me in the mood for, just being at the throne room and talking to God. I don't understand, like, people who are against hip hop, Christian hip hop, will go and listen to Christian spoken word. But if you put a beat to it, that's hip hop, that's rap. It's lyrically the same thing, just with a beat. But that's okay. But no, see, when you put it all together and you call it rap and you call it hip hop, blah, 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 because I really don't want to say the stuff that they say. But, that's an artist. Another point that someone tries to bring up is depending the lyrics, right? I agree with every song, every genre of music, every type of music. You should listen to the words, because if you're singing them, if you're allowing yourself to hear them, and in fact, I would rather listen to Wu-Tang again, right? And knowing that none of that glorifies God, than listen to blasphemy. Because at least they're not trying to trick God or trying to trick people into following their false doctrine. There's no mistaking that. When you listen to 36 Chambers or Wu-Tang Forever, there is nothing in there that says, hey, we told you we're a Christian and we're not. You know what you're getting. But see, one thing people don't do in the Christian circle is truly listen to some of the, and not all people, obviously, but there's less of, wait, did you hear what he just said? Wait, rewind that. Let's play those lyrics. Okay, boom, no. Because if it's popular, and now I'm talking outside, this is all genres, right? If it's popular, hey, it's popular. It's good. If it's good for the goose, it's good for the gander, I think they say. No, I don't care if it says God. I don't care if it says Jesus. I don't care if it says Holy Spirit. It's false. So when it comes to lyrics, I think the lyrics are exactly what we should be looking at all genres of music. And if the lyrics are meant to glorify God, speak of God, teach of God in the proper way, right? In facts, not blasphemy, then I don't think we should have an opinion of whether it would or would not glorify God, because we are not God. But it points to God. It puts me in a state of worship with God, in a state of wanting to pray and even speak about these lyrics to God, no matter what genre. Who are we to say nay to that? For people who have passion in music, artists, people who put music together, you don't have to, as a Christian, stop everything and stop singing about the things in life, whether depression, whether you got out of alcoholism and you want to put that in word form, and at the end you want to thank God because God's place in it. Go for it. You don't have to make everything about God. This isn't what this is about either, because even in hip hop, it doesn't all have to say Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. It does not. But to consider it Christian, that's all we need, supposedly. But to consider it, for me, to be a Christian genre, I would like a little bit more than just the name Jesus. Not that that's the only type of music we should listen to or have to listen to, I should say. Music is music. Depending what the message is what we should depend on whether we listen to or not. Our own convictions. That's what we should do. And if I have a conviction towards a certain type of music, right? Because this is another reason people will say, I used to listen to hip hop and I lived in this type of life and it made me want to do this and this is what I was. That's a personal conviction. That's a personal conviction. That's between you and God. You go ahead and not listen to it. But to call it from the devil or to say nay to all Christian hip hop and rap, you're wrong. You're wrong. Because it doesn't do that for me. It doesn't do that for a lot of people. In fact, because of the type of music that our ears are attracted to, it works best for us. Not that it's the only way, but it works best for us. I have a problem sometimes when I listen to contemporary music. After a while, it irks my ears. It irks like the sound of certain instruments and so on. It irks my ears. And I'll push through it only because of how beautiful the song may be or how powerful the lyrics are and just the state of just focused on God that it can put me on. But after a while, I can only listen to so many Mercy Me songs before I'm like, all right, I'm tired of these guys' voices. I need hip hop. And so many people feel that way. And for you to shut it down because you have a personal conviction, that is damage. That is not good. That is damage. Because most of the time, the way people react is not to ignore you. They take it personal and they want to fight and they want to argue, and we're not helping, we're damaging people for Christ. Especially in an age where people aren't going to blame you for it, they're going to blame God for it. You see, we need to be careful of how we approach things, especially when it has to do with something as powerful as music. And again, listen to the music, listen to the lyrics, listen to what's going on. You may learn something, you may not. Funny thing, right? So in my house, I'm a hip hop guy. My wife does not like hip hop. Does not. But she doesn't tell me that my music's not Christian. And she's into like the heavy metal. I don't tell her that's not Christian. I don't like it, but I don't tell her it's not Christian. I may not listen to it with her, but I don't tell her it's not Christian or it's devil music and so on and so forth. I'm not going to tear her apart, especially because she's my wife and I like her. I'm not going to tear apart her type of music just because I don't like it. It's like, all right, cool. I'll hear one or two of her songs while she's listening to them, and she'll do the same for me. Or she'll hear them and she'll be like, wow, that guy's got talent. And I'll hear some of hers and I was like, I didn't make out the words. No, it's like we don't all have to like the same things, but just because you don't like it doesn't mean you have to condemn it. And this is the problem with Christians and having so many denominations and nominations and so many, all Asians. Not Asians, Asians. Either way, like, why? Why is it that we want to tear everything down that we don't like? If it doesn't stray anyone from the actual Bible, the 66 books, if it doesn't take away from that, if it doesn't pull people away from God, then let them be. Let them be. Again, I'm not talking to the people of the world. I'm talking to the Christian. What need did you have to get on that person's song or video of their song to tell them they're not Christian, to hate on them about not being your type of Christian? Like, who are you? You're not God. And there's nothing about that that tells you you need to call this out. It's disgusting, people. The world doesn't need to attack us when Christians are attacking Christians. And quite frankly, when I see you attacking a Christian that way, it's as if you're demon possessed. Yes, I said it. It's as if you're demon possessed. And someone there trying to glorify God. You're trying to break them down. And whether they are or aren't, that's between them and God. I heard the lyrics, I heard the music. You know, only the future will tell whether they stuck to it or they only did it for the clout. But we as so-called Christian people, we need to do more building up than tearing down. We need to do more coming alongside someone and saying, hey, you know what? Not my type of music, but when you said this bar with this bar and you put these two together, it was pretty clever. In fact, a couple days ago, I was reading something in scripture and I was thinking the same thing. And the way you kind of put it together made sense to me. You know. And they're not forcing you to buy their CD. They're not forcing you to play them in their churches. They're not. So we need to stop beefing over this stuff. There's only two main reasons I see people attack Christian hip hop, Christian rap. And it's ugly. It's ugly. It don't look good on you. Don't look good on anybody. We need to stop this. And not only in the music, but if Christians would actually stick together, man, if we only stuck together, our little differences don't matter. You know, if the main thing's the main thing, the little things don't matter. You think Paul and Apollos didn't have arguments and disagreements? Yet nowhere in the Bible did Paul say Apollos wasn't Christian. Peter. At one point he said, Peter, hey, you're acting like a hypocrite, yada, yada, yada. But did he say, you're not a Christian? Or you're not doing ministry the way I do it or the way I think it should be done? You're not a Christian? Right, I said ministry? Yeah, I think I said it right. Either way. Look. If you don't like hip hop and rap, that's fine. Music is music. But don't say it's from the devil. Because here's the last point I'm going to make. The cults followed this, and I said this before. But tradition, not Bible, but tradition says, right? I don't remember the Bible saying it, and right now I'm exhausted. So I'm going to say I don't remember the Bible saying, but you hear how Satan was the worship leader of heaven. Music was all through him. Yet, David worshiped God through music, and so many others in the Psalms. So if you're going to use the same aspect or the same avenue of, well, hip hop and rap, that was from the devil first, rock and so on and so, all music was from the devil first. Should we stop all worship? No, because we'd be like the cults and we don't want to do that. No. Sometimes, right, Genesis, what man meant for evil, God meant for good. This is what it is. Look, if the lyrics and the music take you to the throne room, teach you about him, bring you closer to him, glorify him. If God is on the pedestal, right, pedestal? I don't know. Words are not coming to me right now. But if God's not the main thing, if he's not the center of it, then it may not be Christian. And it's okay. It's okay. It may not be Christian. It might be just clean music. It may be, like old school. You had the love songs. And that's okay. Christians don't need to stop listening to that. But if the main thing's the main thing, right, and everything points to God, doesn't matter what genre it's in. Listen to it or not. Just don't hate it. And don't start making people feel like they're sinners because they don't sing the type of music that you think they should. Because you're not God. You're not Jesus. You're not Holy Spirit. And I highly doubt that if you're breaking Christians down because of the genre of music they listen to, that you're doing that filled with the Spirit. So, for fun, for those of you that like Christian hip-hop, don't give me the main ones either, okay? Don't give me anime, yeah, I know all those guys. Give me something new. Give me something different. Send me a link or something. I'd love to check it out. Okay. No Ruslan or none of those guys that are already, in the top tier famous. I'd like to hear some of these new guys that are coming out. Only because I'm interested in what they got to say and how God has affected their life. And there's nothing wrong with Andy Minnie, Alec Ray, Ruslan, or any of them. I'm not hating on them. It's just their stuff's all over the place. I can listen to it whenever I want. Okay. Give me something I don't know. Put it in the comments. Send me an email, whatever the case may be. God bless you guys. For the next time, I think we're going to talk about the missing gender in church. And we already know what it is. And why. Either way, God bless you guys. Holla at your boy.
Thank you for dropping by. Please remember to subscribe, to share, like, and to catch the next one.